Welcome back to Benny's Custom Works, proudly supported by Sparesbox. If you are on Sparesbox, don't forget, use BCW5 on checkout. If you've made it this far into the video, you'll realise today we're packing for Drag Challenge. So it's going to be a bit of a tedious video, but we're going to explain a lot of things about Drag Challenge and the way we approach Drag Challenge, as well as the parts we take along and why we take those parts. I thought before we packed the trailer full of stuff, we'd have a little bit of a walk around and show you guys the setup that we've come up with. Last time you guys saw this on camera, it was pretty basic. It didn't have mud guards, it didn't have wheels. I think we're running different wheels on it or something. But we'll whip around and look at what we've done as well as why we've done some of that stuff. So looking in from the back, we can see we've now got a rack here. This is actually for our marquee or shade tent. Then moving along to the side here, we've got a slide or a rack system for most of the plastic tubs we're going to use. And that basically doubles our floor space because we can get things up off the ground. One of the biggest drawbacks we had when we were using the U-Haul trailer in America was that if we wanted to put anything into the roof, we basically had to feed it in and then climb in and strap it to the roof. The U-Hauls don't have side doors or any sort of access from the side at all. They only had that rear door, so having one of these builder's trailers allows us to have a lot more access to things in the trailer. And as a byproduct of that, we've actually mounted our toolbox into the front of the trailer so that that's fixed. We don't have to take it out. And like I said, because we can access it from the side, we have no reason to actually remove it from the trailer. Moving into the side, we've actually fitted our rear legs now. When we were mucking around with it before, we didn't have any legs in it. And I tried loading a couple of things in there. And if it's not connected to the car, obviously it's going to tip up pretty badly. So now we've got those wind down legs. These are heavy duty ones actually designed for an off-road camper. So they can cop plenty of weight and abuse, and they fold up out of the way so that we have no problems with catching them on the road or dragging them on speed humps or anything like that. Wheels and tyres we've gone for, they're actually old work wheels from Japan, but more importantly, the tyres rather than the wheels, we've gone for light truck tyres. We run light truck tyres on all of our trailers purely because they're just up to the beating. They're designed to handle plenty of load, whereas some light car tyres, especially in 14-inch these days, they don't have thick sidewalls, they don't have thick tread. So when you're like cruising along at 100 k's an hour with effectively probably a ton of weight on those tyres, you've got about 500 kilos per tyre. They can sort of fatigue and fail prematurely if you're running a typical street tyre. So the light truck tyres is definitely what we've gone with. And same thing on the spare as well, we're running a light truck tyre on the spare also. My biggest recommendation for Drag Challenge overall, if you're preparing to take a car yourself, is your tool setup. So this is a basic SP Tools cabinet that we've been running in Drag Week and now obviously at Drag Challenge. The thing that I kind of learnt preparing the vehicle in the weeks before in the shop, or in the case of in America when we were working at Charleston Performance Solutions, we only ever worked out of this box. So if there was anything we needed, we purchased it and added it to the toolkit so that when we were on the road away from a workshop, we didn't have to buy or borrow or be stuck in a situation when we couldn't repair something. So this is basically an off-the-shelf kit that we've added some tools to. We've got some larger spanners and some AN spanners and a couple of like some in-hex sockets and a couple of other bits and pieces that suit both the Cresta and the Mustang for extra little stuff that we've added. But like I said, if you're planning to do Drag Challenge or Drag Week, I definitely recommend to work out of the toolbox that you are going to take on the road when you're preparing your car, because then you can work out exactly what tools and equipment you're going to need on the road, and you can add those ahead of time before you get stuck in the middle of nowhere without the tools that you do need. All the stuff you guys can see here in front of me is what's actually going to end up in the trailer. Basic super quick rundown. We've got a marquee, we've got a table, we've got an oil drain tray, the race wheels, we've got our quick grab bag which has all of our power tools in it. We're also going to put our tyre pressure gauge in that so that we've got just a super quick grab bag so that we can get stuff either on the side of the road or if we have to grab it at the track rather than having to unpack the trailer. We've obviously got our radios, so we've got comms inside the car, so we've got some sweet aircraft talking.
Where's the wind noise coming from?
Probably the wind.
The wind. Once landed, taxi to the right, thank you.
Just confirm terminal number, please.
Terminal 3, gate 4.
Roger that.
Cabin crew, disarm doors and cross-check.
Got our parachute, and we've also got a spare pilot chute for that. We've got a heap of heat shielding materials from DCI. Those of you familiar with our first Drag Week adventures, we made a dodgy heat shield in a Home Depot car park. This year we're a bit more prepared and we now have correct heat shielding materials. I don't think we're going to have a problem, but we're also not trying to be complacent, so we've got to make sure that we're prepared for whatever we've experienced before and what drag challenge can throw at us. Obviously we've got the race gear, that's priority number one. Can't go down the track without helmet and your fire suit and your boots and all that gear, so that's there. The tubs in front of us, we've got all sorts of bits and pieces. We'll run through the tubs a bit more as we're loading the trailer. Side note, the tubs are actually going to go in to the trailer in order of what I think will be the least required parts. So our transmission stuff's going to go in first because I really don't think we're going to need it. Also, further side note, this stuff is here so we're prepared. We're not necessarily going to think any of this is going to fail, but you can guarantee the things we don't have are the things we're going to need on the side of the road. So we've got all sorts of stuff from Raceworks, we've got all sorts of spare parts from Sparesbox, got some stuff from Haltech, we've even got some tough mounts, we've got all sorts of bits and pieces that'll hopefully see us through to the end of Drag Challenge. As I keep saying, these sort of events aren't about winning, they're about finishing. Obviously, can't finish without a stack of fuel, so these are all of our E85 jerry cans. And right at the end here, we're going to have 25 litres of water in the trailer. We're going to make this so it is drinkable. If for whatever reason we're stuck on the side of the road, it's good to have a lot of drinking water. Also, if we have a cooling system problem, you need water to fill that back up. So yeah, both sides of the coin, you need to make sure that you're going to be safe on the road. If you stop for any amount of time, you can sustain that stop and you've got some drinking water. But equally, you need to be able to put water in the car if it overheats or if we split an O-ring or something. The Cresta doesn't have any rubber in the cooling system at all. However, if we break a line or split an O-ring, we need to be able to maintain and service those on the side of the road. The Mustang does still have rubber in it. It is something we will most likely revise further down the track, but for now we're running it as we had it in America. Having it back home now means we can refine and tweak some of that stuff, and that cooling system for me is priority number one. But let's start packing it into the trailer. We will break down the tubs as we go. Oh, that's heavier than it looks. This is our transmission crate, as I mentioned before. This has got a lot of spares for our Turbo 400. With super simple stuff from a couple of pan gaskets. We've also got a pump, we've got a couple of input shafts, and we've also got a stator for the converter. I'm pretty confident we're never ever going to need that, but it just stays in this box of our transmission stuff, so it's all together. We've got all sorts of clutches and steels that are new. In our previous video of overhauling the transmission as well, we've got all the parts from that overhaul which were still serviceable, so worst case, if we need an odd piece or something, we can dig it from that second-hand box. Also, if other guys are in need, we're happy to share this stuff too. Like, it's about everyone finishing, not just us. So if you find, primarily what I've actually seen is people breaking input shafts, especially at drag week. A couple of guys broke, I think it was 4L80 input shafts last year. However, we've got this stuff here and I'm taking it anyway, so we may as well sort of put it out there. If anyone needs stuff, hit us up. We're happy to help out. So that's pretty much our transmission crate. But yeah, I doubt we're going to have any dramas, but like I said before, we need to be prepared for if something does pop up. Straight back into crate number 2, we've got a stack of fittings. Obviously the Raceworks stuff we've been running for a while, it's pretty good. We haven't had any reliability issues with it. However, it is good to have it here. The one thing I will actually take out of this crate though is our fuel transfer hose. So this is for pumping the fuel tank out of 98. So we pump the 98 out into a jerry can. We've mentioned a few times before, we commute in the Cresta on 98, not E85. So this screws straight to the top of the fuel pump, or the fuel pump hat, which is on the tank, and then the other end just goes straight into a jerry can. We can then manually power the fuel pump, which then just pumps the tank out. It's super simple, and it means we don't have to go pulling the fuel pump module out or putting a siphon hose or pulling a bung out of the bottom of the tank. This seems to work really well, and we do this with both the Cresta and the Mustang. The Mustang also has its own siphon hose, so we'll use this one just with the Cresta, and then Benny can sort his own stuff out with the Mustang. Next up, we've got our engine and mechanical spares box, and this one's pretty comprehensively packed. I've actually got a second tray that we can sort of get in and out of this one. We've got a stack of drive belts. For interest's sake, we've actually only ever put one belt on the Cresta, but you can guarantee the second it starts to eat these things, it'll start going through them. We've got some spare pulleys. So we run a steel top pulley on the Cresta and a steel water pump pulley. These are also the same type of steel pulleys that we run. So got a couple of those. This is a R35 GTR coil box, but it doesn't have R35 GTR coils in it. So this has got some spares for our GFB gate. For interest's sake, we've never actually changed these. However, Harry with the Stevo Chevelle has been chewing through a couple of gate diaphragms, but interestingly, they're not GFB gates. So we'll sit on these spares, but I don't think we're going to need them. Got some PRP, Platinum Racing products. They're Barra coil stems. We've got a couple of spare ones. You got to be prepared. Stack of GTR coils and heaps of spark plugs. We've got a few different heat ranges and a few different varieties there, so we can change it up, or same thing, help other people out if they get stuck. We're not exactly trying to keep 25,000 cars running, but if we can keep a couple of guys in it, it'll be good. Now we're into the bottom half of the tub. We've got a shifter cable for our shifter. This does fit the Mustang also. Spare set of front brake pads that are brand new. Got some other Willwood consumables. We've got some disc bolts, some caliper nipples and some other bolts. Got some oil filters, we've got plenty of them. Also got some factory throttle bodies. These are actually the FG Falcon throttle body. It's exactly what you get on your standard non-turbo XR6. However, we've had the Hypex clamps welded directly to the throttle body. This works really well. We have had a few throttle bodies fail in the past. However, I think we've got to the bottom of that now, so running a couple of these spares will definitely see us to the end of the event. Good old bits and pieces. We've just got a starter motor and an alternator. And to round it out, we've got a spare BRZ e-throttle pedal. We run this in the Cresta. The Mustang has a BF Falcon one, and it's got a spare Falcon one also. So these things don't fail generally. However, the Falcon ones have a bit of a history with failing. So it's just handy to be prepared. Into our electrical now. Same as the engine crate, we've just got a secondary tub in there so we can keep it nice and neat. Got some Haltech spares, a couple of boxes of stuff. Super important to have a multimeter so you can test stuff. We've actually got two in case one dies. Got some spare pressure sensors. We run these Raceworks TI sensors in the cars. They're pretty reliable. However, we have from time to time had them die. It's worth noting too that these shouldn't be mounted directly to the engine. The vibration's generally what damages these sensors. Trans brake solenoid. This is the same solenoid we run in both of the cars. It's a billet-bodied solenoid. These things come directly from Hughes for us. So thanks to those guys for their help and their support. Got a couple of these ones. Some various tapes. Just got a couple of electrical tapes. Some wider stuff. Kind of get us out of trouble bits. And we've got some crank angle sensors for barrows. I'd never ever replaced one of these, and then interestingly, I was doing a bit of a test drive with the Cresta yesterday, and one of these actually died on the side of the road. So luckily I had one on me and swapped it out. It was about a 15-minute exercise to diagnose it and get it back on the road. So it pays to be prepared. The bottom half of our tray is more or less all consumables. So we've got things like quick grab connector kits, fuse kits. We've got some heat shrink. And then we've got our various connectors that the vehicle's already wired up for. So we've got our Deutsch connectors, and then our generic Nava connectors, or they'd probably go by 100 different names, but we run these and the Deutsch connectors throughout both cars. So it's handy to have both the pins and the housings if we need to replace or repair stuff. So that sort of stuff keeps us going. Obviously, as always, you've got the old trusty cable ties. We do have some stainless cable ties in there as well in case we have to make heat shielding that can then mount directly to the exhaust. But this sort of stuff's what's seen us through other drag weeks and drag challenges, and those stainless cable ties actually did drag week with us last year. This is more or less our roadside support tub. So this is if we've got a problem literally on the side of the road. We want that to be super easy to get to. Things like first aid kit. We've got lights. We've actually got 3 or 4 of these Hella lights. They're really good. You can just charge them pretty much off a USB anywhere. We've got our wheel nut sockets. Got some guard covers if we have to get in there. Got a bit set. And we've also got our trusty bolt kit. We pretty much built the Mustang in America from this kit. So we know pretty much everything in here is what we're going to need to keep the car running. We've also got a few things like tyre puncture repair kit. That's the tools for it. The ropes are in there somewhere. And we've also got some liquid tyre sealant. Neither of those things can be used in motorsport tyres. However, if we've got a puncture or something that we need to repair on the side of the road just to keep going, we'll be using those things for sure. High-vis vest is also super important, especially if you're on the side of the road at night. Even if you're not necessarily working on the car, it's probably good to have someone down the road a little bit trying to sort of alert traffic and try and keep it as safe as possible. We are actually going to have reflective strips on the side of the trailer. It is going to signage today, so it's going to get wrapped. However, we haven't had that done as yet. But yeah, having some roadside safety is definitely going to be in your favour if you do have to stop, especially in the middle of the nowhere or on a less than opportune verge of the road. Like, you can't guarantee you're going to break down. There's going to be a nice median strip to pull off too. So having one of these could potentially save your or someone else's life. Got the trusty old fold-away table. This has actually gotten us out of trouble a fair few times. Just, you don't realise how much you need somewhere to put something until you don't have it. Interestingly, I've also used this as a trailer divider. So rather than put it in folder, we're going to put it in full lengthways. And those two clips there actually mount to this upright that I've put in. So it basically keeps the trailer divided. Well, that's our drag challenge weekend prep video. I hope you guys have enjoyed a bit of an insight into how and why we do things, and hopefully it helps you guys if you want to do these type of events in the future, prepare a bit better and not potentially be caught out partway through the event with a broken car and no way to fix it. Don't forget guys, as always, if you're using Sparesbox, please use BCW5 on checkout. Thanks for watching and we'll see you next time.